This is a message from the universe for you. A reminder that you're not walking this path alone. Especially at times when it feels unclear and there's a lack of stability. I want to remind you that you are protected. That there is eternal guidance available to you, and especially at times you're doubting yourself the most, you need to turn inwardly and trust the thoughts that come from within. Not the mental chatter, but the intuitive insights that find you at times of clarity. You see, ego often seeks security and assurance that you're safe, but at this time of your life, on your path, rather than being safe, you really need to feel connected. It's not about seeking connected, you already are connected, but it's about awareness of connection. Recognizing that through connection, information comes to you. So you don't need much of external guidance anymore. Now all you need is to go within and recognize what your body needs at any specific moment and what your soul craves to express, and then find a balance in your life where you can truly allow this to happen. It's a time where you're building a foundation which most of the time right now may feel for you that it's not seen yet. So it's happening like on ethereal realm first. It happens in your thoughts. You have a sense of deep knowing that what you're working on already exists, but it didn't manifest yet. So let this message be for you support that at the right time you will know what to do. So hold on, my friend. Hold on. Because there is a sense of confidence that puts you into a state where you feel safe. And you don't feel safe because you believe into something or because someone said something to you. You feel safe because you know that you're guided. And you don't need to form any kind of philosophy like what is guiding you. Is it an angel or is it a spirit guide or whatever it is? Those are real things, but they also sometimes become kind of mental distractions that don't matter much. What matters is really the value that comes through this guidance. Like what kind of insight is available to you at any specific moment so you can use it or be inspired by it and move with it. The point is always to make the right action, which is the aligned action. So many of you may feel that this kind of foundation is feeling stronger than ever before, especially when you feel shaky. You start to sense that it's all related to the growth that is happening. It's the resilience that is building within you. It's kind of an invisible muscle that helps you to sense connection more than ever before. It's about the ability to trust the unseen force that is holding you up. And when it comes to this kind of information, I always want to remind you, don't believe into it, but really put it into a test. Many of you have been through experiences in your life where you thought you will fail. You thought that it will not work out. Everything you knew maybe failed you, or every expectation you had didn't work. But then something else happened that surprised you. many of you have been through experiences like that, and those of you know, well, it doesn't matter what you believe in. Eventually, whatever name you hold towards life, God, universe, source, whatever, it's a force that supports you. But when you show up and become really responsible for the growth that you really seek the most, so your soul could shine in activities that feel the most blissful to you, and become so skillful at them that you start to feel like your life is one big dance. And yeah, sometimes doubts may come up. So sometimes when we have doubts, it's because we are lacking confidence, and confidence usually comes out of results. Like if you're doubting that you will succeed at something, it's because maybe you don't have much results related to success at that specific endeavor, which means that the only way to really erase these doubts is to keep up and make some results. The point at the end is really not really just making the results and achieving some material gain, but this understanding of how doubts can slowly turn into confidence. Because I believe that once we leave this place, all that is left to us is really this deep grounded understanding that was gained through this trial and error in life. The understanding of the power of thoughts and how much negative thoughts need to be challenged through a certain consistent action to see that they are not so real. And we only recognize that thoughts are not so real when we intentionally choose to do something, doesn't matter what our automatic negative thoughts say to us. To me, it was always a big battle within me, because even though you feel intuitively inspired to do something, when you feel inspired, you don't think much about it. You only start thinking about it and overthinking it when you stop doing it, when you're not in the flow anymore, when you start analyzing what is happening. Like when I've started this journey, when I haven't seen much growth, my analytical mind was like, oh, it's not working, it's not worth it. What if this time it will not work? And what will I do if nothing of this vision will manifest? And many of these negative thoughts were very annoying to me, but I thought, well, if so many stories I've heard and read about from people succeeding, and all they did was to really mentally set themselves to that vision that they want to accomplish, and then all they did was visualize it a little bit and then working towards it every single day, showing up and doing the work and holding on to consistency, faith, and trust into the process. So that's what I did as well. And I've recognized, well, even if I have negative thoughts around it, it still manifested. It still worked. But once it worked, there was less negative thoughts. So a kind of a way to erase negative thoughts is to create results. To make results for yourself and to start reframing these thoughts. Because they're programs from the past. They're not a bad thing. It's just how your brain is designed to keep you safe, to stay in the familiar, because that's where you are safe. But when you decide for yourself to make a change in your life, of course your brain will go like, it's dangerous, it's scary. There will be a stress response in your nervous system. The signal will go to your brain to raise some chemicals for fight or flight, and there will be more negative thoughts because your body will feel like it's in the danger zone. but it's due to your intention. So then you will think like being intentional and working on certain growth and change is a bad thing because it's scary and I think negatively about it, so maybe it's not meant for me. But you're just going against your old program, and you need to be aware that it is only a program. Like when you don't like a program on your computer because it is not serving you anymore, you change it for a new one. You install a new program, a new app, and you start using it. And when you start using it, you don't even know how to use it. You need to learn all the gadgets and details and skills, and then eventually you become so good at it that you don't even think about going back into the old program. Eventually, if you go back into the old program, you will think for yourself, how was I even able to use it? It's so old school. It's so not useful anymore. And that's what happens to this mind of yours. Like when you start doing something new, firstly it's scary because it's unknown, but then you keep going and keep going and keep trying and learning and adapting yourself to all new experiences, new people, new realizations, new beliefs, anything. And eventually you recognize the old mind is gone. The old ego is not there anymore. And in between, you need to rely on guidance. You need to rely on your faith, on your trust that your path is really taken care of. You would not be placed here alone. This is a very dense world. So many distractions, so many hard energies to deal with, especially working with our emotions. This is not an easy place to be, and many of you know. There's those of you, the starseeds, the chosen ones, that crave to go back at home. There's many people who know that they belong to stars, that they're coming from distant places. And many of you feel like you're not at home here. And for those of you, sometimes it may be a bit more intense to be in these bodies, and I know that it may be tough sometimes. But it's not really something that's working against you. Your body is not working against you, and all these energies, they're not working against you. You just need to figure out how to work more in alignment with energies, because as much as you're sensitive to negative energies and to denser forces, you're also sensitive to guidance. And usually guidance appears when you show up for it, when you make a plan for your life. And this plan doesn't need to be precise, like knowing all details, but sometimes it's just intentional decision. Like, I want to make something good out of my life. I want to, erase these negative people from my life. Or I want to move out of poverty and live a life of abundance. Like, first of all, you deserve it. And you're worthy of it, but you need to show up for it. To show up as a person who deserves a change and then work on that change. Don't be so scared of it. So the reminder is to take the next small step. You don't need the entire map to make progress. Focus on what's in alignment with you right now, what's in front of you, and move with intention. So to those of you, the starseeds, that feel like you belong to somewhere else, know that you actually intentionally have chosen to come here. But maybe you had no understanding back then that this is a dense place. So just know that nothing is against you here. It's just something that's unfamiliar, and sometimes the unfamiliar energies make you feel scared. They make you feel scared because they are really, unknown to you. And most of the time we are afraid of something that's unfamiliar, especially something dark, like sometimes we are afraid of certain dark psychology. Sometimes we are afraid of narcissists. Sometimes we are afraid of doing something painful. Sometimes we are afraid of starting something we have no idea about. Just because we think we will lose ourselves there. We will lose the sense of self there, and we will suffer forever. But the truth is that it will happen for a short period of time, but eventually it will build you in a way that you will become less naive. And this is a very important lesson in this world, because naivety often robs us from love, from empathy. And then we close down our hearts and we start to believe that we are in danger, that we are victims. So the message is always, don't be afraid of anything, but also be cautious of it. And when we have this kind of understanding that we are always guided, and if we know how to get back into a state where we are in tune with our own guidance, it is not something external, it's not overthinking, it's really learning to manage your bodily systems, understanding that your brain is wired to adapt to anything, but at the same time you can rewire it to adapt to your own intentions. When you sit down, for example, it doesn't matter how chaotic your life is, you can sit down and you can decide, right now I will calm down my body. And you start with breathing, slowly breathing. Breathing pattern reprograms your nervous system, because deep, slow breaths are not regular for your body. When you slow down your breathing, your body will notice, oh, I'm safe, everything is okay. And if you stay consistent with a new breathing pattern, your body will relax because it will believe that it is safe. When your nervous system will calm down, your brain will calm down. You see, your nervous system is coming from your brain. There's the oldest part of the brain, the reptilian brain. Above it, there's the limbic brain, which is the emotional brain. And then above it, there's your neocortex, your thinking brain. And when your nervous system calms down, your instinctive brain calms down, which means you're less reactive, you're more relaxed. When that instinctive brain calms down, also your emotional brain calms down. You're not so emotional anymore. When this part of your brain calms down, also your thinking brain calms down, and you're not overthinking anymore, overanalyzing anymore. It's all a practice. When you create this kind of alignment, science calls it coherence. You create coherency between your brain and heart. And when this coherency happens, your heart opens up. When your heart opens up, its field becomes way stronger than your brain's. And suddenly you start to sense thoughts of your heart. You see, your heart has same neurons, thinking neurons as your brain. But most of the time you don't sense them because you live in your mind. When you learn to calm down, to feel safe in your body, you start to notice that your body is guiding you. And your body is not really alone. It's a vessel. In ancient times they said it's a vessel, it's like a jar. And in order to make this jar useful, you firstly need to empty it. Right? You need to empty it of all the nonsense, of all the poison. And you empty it the way that you firstly calm yourself down. So you stop overthinking and focusing on things that don't serve you anymore, especially in that present moment. To take time for yourself and notice, first of all, you are not alone on this path. You are not disconnected from this incredible complexity of life that just happens to have a certain type of divine order that has orchestrated the universe, galaxies, stars, planets, all the biological systems, including yourself. So you can't be alone. You are a part of great design, and that great design had a purpose for you. And it just happens that when you relax, you become aware of a glimpse of that purpose. You become aware that there are certain specific things that inspire only you, no one else. And when you realize that, you realize that you want to put yourself more into the fields that inspire you, and suddenly your life becomes more meaningful. When your life becomes more meaningful, you become more motivated to keep exploring that meaning, to keep exploring the fields that charge you up, and suddenly you have more energy when you do more of these things. So actually, more you do what you love, more energy you have to keep doing what you love. That's why the universe gives you what you need, not what you want. So you would discover what you truly want by recognizing what inspires you. That's why the word inspiration truly means being in spirit. When you feel inspired, you're being fused by spirit. That's why when we feel inspired, we really feel not so human anymore. We feel something more. We feel we don't judge things anymore. We become one with whatever inspired us. Like I used to be so inspired by hip-hop music, not so much because of what they were doing, but sometimes certain verses and beats and certain knowledge inspired me the way that I felt. I want to inspire others as well. And that energy made me feel motivated to keep searching for something that will charge me up the way that music did. So then I can be a channel of it for someone else. And that's why I know that we are not alone here, because it was not my plan. What I'm doing today, it was not my plan. I wanted to do something completely else, but life took me to where I am today. And I know that life is taking you right now to somewhere where you can't even imagine that you wanted to do it. It's most probably not your intentional plan right now that you're part of, but eventually it will show up to you. Your life will work out the way that you will not be able to believe, but only if you will really keep in tuning with that kind of a guidance within. I don't have other word for it. So it is to me like an intuitive guidance. It's very subtle, very gentle, but it's real. We don't sense it all the time. It's not like every time you feel doubt, you go within and you sense it. You don't sense it all the time, but it is like a muscle. More you practice it, more you become in tune with it. So, your presence matters so much, and you are being guided, even when you can't see it. Like, roots spreading underground, and unseen forces are arranging opportunities, connections, and lessons that will reveal themselves in time. And you need to trust that, because if you look back, you can notice that there have been certain mysterious events that you can't describe them, but you've memorized them because they happened so weirdly. But they happened in a positive way because they've turned you towards something that changed your life. We all have been through something like that, and sometimes at the darkest times of our lives, so we can be here today. My friend, celebrate that. Celebrate that. And know your presence matters. Sometimes you think, I'm so small. Who am I, right? But sometimes it's just showing up, not for someone else. Most people will not even see you. But for yourself, for noticing that a skill is not built in one day and not in 1 week and not in 1 year, but keep showing up. Because only through time you will notice what you're really capable of. And yes, time will tell you. So just showing up with your questions, with your fears, with your efforts, just keep showing up. The universe values your intentions more than your perfection. And when you understand that, you will know, well, your work really doesn't need to be perfect. Your speech doesn't need to be perfect. Your job at your job doesn't need to be perfect. Your relationship with that special person, it doesn't need to be perfect for the Instagram, for the Facebook, for the YouTube, whatever. It doesn't need to be perfect. But keep showing up at it and it will become perfect for you. The universe values your intention more than your perfection. So be intentional around where you want to take it, what you want to do with it. And understand that it's hard times that are part of the design. Hard times that are part of the design, because otherwise you would stay stagnant in the comfort zone. And yeah, we are tired of hearing that, but that's the truth. Like, we have all these seasons of uncertainty and, feeling like we're being punished. But it's just a reminder to slow down, to realign and to recalibrate and notice what kind of muscle we need to build for that new season. Because then whatever is hard at the beginning eventually becomes easy. And then it shows up as a sign of progress. So I've started seeing all these discomforts as proofs of growth. When something becomes discomfortable or when something starts falling apart, it's a part of growth. Like a palm tree, when it is growing, it's constantly opening up its surface. If you look at how the trunk is built, you will see it has so many this kind of openings. And that's how growth is happening. On the level of details, it feels like you're failing and failing and failing. But on a long scale, you notice that all these short-term failures were just short openings, so something new was able to grow through you. And yes, everything is just creating a background and a foundation for what will eventually come out of all this process. So just be reminded that you are not alone in this. It's not an abstract idea or something, superficial maybe, for someone who says, yeah, I have angels and support and all of that. Yeah, you have it, but it doesn't change much when you go through hard times. But if you understand that really your journey is part of a cosmos, of a design that is bigger than your comprehension, then you humble yourself because you don't know much. And you recognize if you don't know much, you can't worry about what's not going your way, because maybe there's a way that you can't understand yet. And all the so-called failures and hard times are actually teaching you to open your mind and actually accept more of what is not going your way, because it's maybe going by something else's way that will eventually introduce you wisdom that will change your life and will put you to positions you would never felt worthy enough to be there. So yeah, the future holds many unknowns. That's why it's important to be reminded that you don't need to worry much about how things will work out. But yeah, keep listening your body. Rest when you need to. But then do and work when you need to. You will see that eventually you find a balance between doing and resting, and listening and trusting. Keep practicing the awareness of connection, the intuitive listening of your own body, and you will notice that sometimes what's more powerful than just forcing something to happen is to do it with a greater alignment. And alignment really is when everything clicks. And it's not something that just happens sometimes, like a lucky moment. It is a product of attunement with ourselves. But it's a practice like any kind of a sport. You just don't become good at it overnight. It's a practice. That's why any spiritual practice like meditation or certain type of movement like Tai Chi or yoga or whatever resonates with you, you just don't become good at it overnight. Like any other sport, it's all a practice. So practice awareness of connection, because you already are connected to something bigger that just works through you. And when you doubt it, reflect on the times when mysterious things and synchronicities happen to you. Not just numbers and things like that, but really mysterious things, like when maybe a loved one passed away and then after that time some interesting things happened that never happened before, that kind of showed you that maybe your ancestors are with you, guiding you towards something right. I don't know. I just know that you've been through something that somewhere reminded you of the mystical part of life. So know, my friend, that you're not alone here. But you also have chosen to be here, and find out why you've chosen to be here. Because once you will find it out, you will notice that it will become a source of incredible fire, the sacred fire of yours that will never burn out, because it is the source of you. And it has something to share with the world that will, inspire other fires to burn stronger, until eventually all of us will be turned on and moved by the Spirit. My friend, I hope you found something valuable today. I'm sending you lots of love, blessings, and power. I hope you've enjoyed in today's painting as well. If yes, you can find a print of it or some of my original paintings on AttractPassion.com. With that, you will support this mission, and for that I'm truly grateful to you. Go and check it out at AttractPassion.com, where you can find all of my paintings and some other products. And also thanks to everyone for joining our Patreon community for more exclusive content. Thank you so much, and till next time, one love.